discuss and then vote on the sunset extension for the town records archival project. Candy cannot come. Candy is
Yeah,
taking her daughter to
I'm
the
aware.
airport or
Yep.
picking her up. So
Yep. So we're doing the sunset
first,
first?
the extension.
Okay. I did send in some minor revisions.
No, not the bylaw. The
Nope.
actual extension.
Oh,
That's the voting
yes.
part.
Okay.
Right, the part that we need.
All right. I'm sorry. I misunderstood. Yeah. So she'll be here to go over stuff next month, but, things have been progressing nicely. I don't see any reason not to extend the sunset provision.
Okay. Do I have any further discussion? Do I have a motion to extend the sunset to June 30th, 2026?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? No. No no's?
No no's.
Motion carried unanimously. Okay, so we dodged that. Ken is here and would like to hear as much as he can of your presentation. So, Bill Taylor from you can correct me, I have
From
Upton
the
Open Space.
I'm the chair of the Open Space Committee.
John, excuse me for 1 second. I just want to make sure. So as far as the sunset policy that's going, it's a policy that doesn't have to be voted on tonight?
No.
Okay.
I mean, we would love for it to, and we can because Craig is official. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah, we
5.
have-
Okay, I was just asking that question
So,
ahead of time, so cool.
It may or may not be, because Paul had some corrections or changes. I had a couple, so
Yeah,
it may be that it may take one more meeting for that.
Yep. that's fine. Just asking the question,
Yeah.
thanks.
So the floor is yours.
Thank you. So, I'm assuming you're all familiar with the land itself. It's located essentially between Lake Wildwood and Upton and the Grafton-Upton Railroad right-of-way. There's some private property that is to the north, and then there's a small, about 1.5 acre parcel of land that the town owns between the railroad and Lake Wildwood, which has an existing trail on it, which leads back to the land in question. So initially, when we got into this, basically the personal representative for the estate had come to us and asked if we might be interested in preserving the land, which he thought would be a appropriate use for it to honor his father, Richard Herbst. And initially, I was really of the opinion that this was going to require, time was of the essence. They were getting offers, or at least having discussions or talking tos by the owner of the railroad, who was expressed interest in the land. So in order to expedite things, I decided that Upton would try to buy the whole parcel and then work with Grafton to transfer the land in Grafton. The total is roughly 50 acres, 11 acres of which are in Grafton. However, it got hung up on the question of whether or not there was any access to the land over the railroad. There is a development in Upton called Dairy Drive, and the developer basically traded a series of different easements for one off of Dairy Drive in order to facilitate developing the property. The way I read that easement, it provides access over the land that the developer owned and ends at the railroad right-of-way. So my belief, and it was also the appraiser's belief as well from an appraisal perspective, is that there is no easement or access over the railroad at this point. The land is essentially completely landlocked with the exception of the trail from William Street in Upton. There are trails on the property, and I'm sure people are walking across the tracks all the time, but technically that's trespassing.
So do we understand correctly that this easement that's being talked about is a path between two lots on Dairy, but it doesn't cross the railroad tracks?
Right, because the developer would have no authority to grant an easement over the railroad.
Right, and so the easement is not with the railroad?
Nope.
And so there is there's no easement,
As far as I can tell,
and that railroad has never given any easements ever.
that's true, and so it may be that we never have an easement over the tracks. Now, it's possible the landowners off of Maroni may be willing to grant us,
On that side,
so we could
On
at
the
least
Upton
get to
side,
it from Maroni.
yeah.
But unfortunately, what it means is the trails that are on the parcel may never connect officially with the trails that are on the land on the west side of the tracks, which is
But people never walk across the railroad tracks.
never.
Never.
No, that would be trespassing.
I've never gotten lost down there and used the railroad tracks to get back to where I was supposed to be. Never done that.
Just to pull this up on
Okay.
the GIS, is it under the what's the name on it?
It's,
The name of the owners?
It should be in the meeting packet, was that,
look at the corner.
there's a map.
I'm trying to find the meeting.
I was just gonna have to type in
Buried
the
under
address
everything
or
else.
name.
Well, if you
When
pan
did
to
you
it,
send the meeting?
look for that corner of Grafton.
I don't know. Yes.
The owners' names are Sinat and Herbst.
Right, keep going. Go up. There, go. Get that X. There, it's, get rid of that. So hard to do on a phone,
Buried.
but it's, this piece right here.
Okay, thank you.
And this is Grafton right there, and the rest of that, on the other side of that jog is Upton.
Okay, thank you.
I just sent it to you, the map that he sent. It's in the meeting packet,
Okay.
but I just sent you.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, so the land has got a lot of value from a conservation perspective. It's in the ACEC. In fact, the tracks are the boundary of the ACEC, the Area of Critical Environmental Concern. It is priority habitat, and it has prime forest and prime farmland soils. So, and of course, it's got about 4,000 feet of frontage on Lake Wildwood, shoreline on Lake Wildwood.
Yeah, which is hugely important to protect.
Absolutely. And at this point, it's either going to be sold for open space because it can't be developed, or it's going to get sold to the railroad. And they can pretty much do whatever they damn well please. The only thing at this point which makes me a little bit hopeful is I understand that the existing owner is getting ready to sell it to Dana, who has the Dana companies, all owned by Ronald Dana, have a huge interest in the railroad. So, for example, the yard in Upton has a pellet packaging plant. Well, the pellets are bought by a Dana company from someplace in Georgia, and then brought up to Upton on rail cars owned by Dana, and then they get packaged and they're sold by another Dana company.
Is that DANA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
In Grafton.
and in fact, yes, actually, one of their businesses locations is in Grafton on Route 30. I think it's Route
Right,
30.
Yes, it
it's
is.
Just very near the
North
LNG.
Grafton Elementary.
So the potential sales are to, the towns for conservation, to the Dana company or the railroad?
The reason I mentioned the Dana thing is I'm hoping that Dana is if he does sell it, and apparently it's in the works, that the Dana people are a lot more friendly than Mr. Deli Priscoli. And perhaps would be more willing to let the town do what it wanted to do, as opposed to trying to buy it. Now, I can understand why they would want to buy it. The yard in Upton is chock full of rail cars, so they need some place to put them.
Yeah, so they would clear cut it and put railroad cars up.
Pretty much exactly what they did in Hopedale, conceivably. If you're not familiar with what happened, you are, okay. Yeah, so they basically clear cut 100 acres in Hopedale. Completely clear cut.
And that was because it was a railroad and they have pretty much.
Yes, and they did some, in my mind, underhanded things to end up taking that land. They somehow skirted that. Most of that land was in Chapter 61, and they somehow managed to skirt the whole right of first refusal issue by some machination, which rather than buy the land, they bought the trust that owned the land. and somehow they made that work. And I think part of the problem in Hopedale was that the selectmen there were concerned they would end up with nothing, or they would just spend thousands of dollars in legal fees. So they tried to strike some arrangement with the railroad rather than pursue their right of first refusal.
And that didn't work.
Well, it didn't work because they never had the authority to buy a fraction of the land. What they had been given at town meeting was the authority to buy the whole parcel. And so when they struck the arrangement to buy part of it, some citizens got together and said, nope. And they had to go back to town meeting to ask for the authority, and they lost. And there was a recent land court decision which gave Hopedale the opportunity to pursue their right of first refusal. So there's some chance, I don't know how good, that Hopedale may someday end up buying most of that land through its Chapter 61.
Okay, so, but as far as this one, so that it's the railroad against the towns?
Yes, at this point.
And
Now,
so if the railroad makes an offer that sets the value of the property, disregarding the appraisal,
that would be my opinion, yes.
and so then
absolutely.
the towns could match that.
Yes, and the personal representatives had told me that, we'll get basically the right of first refusal. They'd much rather sell the land for conservation purposes than sell it to the railroad. So we are, I think, ultimately going to have the opportunity. It's going to be a question of whether or not the railroad ever makes an offer. They may not. And when they do, how much it is, and whether or not we together can raise the funds, if in fact it's more than the appraised value.
Well, the appraised value is moot if another party, if a bona fide offer is made.
Yep.
Because that would then set the price, and the appraisal is moot.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. We've had several discussions in Upton about whether or not you're still tied to the appraised value versus what the railroad has offered from a Community Preservation Act perspective. But I agree with you. The offer that the railroad might make would set the value.
And then it's just an issue of raising the money.
Yep. So I'm working with Sudbury Valley trustees on this acquisition, and they've committed $75,000. When I went to town meeting, I was asking for the full 200. Before we passed over, the article at town meeting was an ask for 250,000, which was basically the full value of all of the land at $5,000 an acre, which is what it was appraised for. And essentially, that's basically what the appraiser thought open space was worth, and it's probably a pretty good number. I figured between 4 and 6, and it came in at 5.
So just a question, the $250,000 you were asking at the Upton town meeting?
Yes. However, because we had the owner, and the owner hasn't, a personal representative, has still not conceded that there's no access over the railroad. Mm-hmm. And in fact, my understanding is he was meeting with their lawyer today to try to figure out whether or not there is a.
So if the railroad buys it, that issue also is moot.
Yes, exactly, because they can grant themselves away.
Because they already own.
They can come over it.
Yeah, they can go over their own property.
Is this land in 61A, 61B?
No, unfortunately, it's not.
It's just land,
It's
okay.
just land. Yeah.
so there's no restriction.
No, well, so there is no restriction. It's a little interesting. The land in Grafton is your agricultural residential zoning. However, the land in Upton is zone general business, which would require somebody to get a special permit to do residential development. And whether or not, I'm not sure it's the zoning board of appeals or the planning board, one of them would be the party that would act on that. And there is actually one more wrinkle. In Hopedale, because they weren't getting anywhere with the owner of the land at the time, they went to the Department of Public Utilities and started asking them for authority to take the land for, basically a public good. Now, they struck an agreement with the owner before they went too far down that path, but conceivably they would have that option again if in fact the owners refused to, the current owners, they refused to sell them the land, they could seek permission from the Department of Public Utilities.
In the town of Upton?
Well,
Or-
it would give them the authority to take
State.
all of the land regardless, because it would be a state granting of authority.
I just missed, who would have that authority? Is that a Upton authority or a state authority?
It's a state, it'd be the state, Massachusetts Department of Public Utilities.
But with the state, you also have multiple agencies that would have conflicting kind of goals and so forth.
Well, even the Department of Public Utilities, especially if we had the land and they tried to come and take it after, Grafton and Upton owned it. Because at that point, it would have Article 97 protection, which, I mean, I can't imagine how that would play out.
But but it's not just like the state's gonna, yes, there's different agencies that have different agendas, and it's not the same throughout the whole state.
No.
You mentioned Maroney Drive, I think is what you said, that there's an abutter on that road that might be a possibility for an easement. Has anyone discussed anything with
No,
them?
not yet.
There's a sign on Milford Road I passed that's like indicating land for sale. Is that for this parcel or is just something separate that I'm?
I think the personal rep would have mentioned that to me if they had done that, but I don't think so.
Okay, because to me it would indicate access that might not exist if it's on Milford Road, right? If I'm seeing a for sale sign in a certain spot, I assume it's close to the sign, right?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
This isn't anywhere near.
Maroney, the butter's Dave Terrian.
Yes, Dave lives.
He would never, ever do that. So you can forget that.
Oh, okay, well, Dave lives across the street, so, one of the owners is, I'm drawing a blank on the name.
There's another one, yeah.
They may sell you easement.
He operates a landscaping business they're the
That's,
owner, Dion,
James Dion.
James Dion. Yeah, so the Dion's own the land that abuts and separates.
They are also on a butter on Maroney, yeah.
Yeah. And then, I had a conversation with what would be the trustee of Global Tuckaway Farm, which is, also in a butter, but I can't remember if you could conceivably get out to Maroney. Well, you could, it would be, but in any case, the reason I mentioned that is he's very much interested in seeing the land preserved. And mentioned that he might have some sources of funds if it comes to that.
Yeah, there's,
Matthew Weinstein,
Feinstein, yeah.
Feinstein, excuse me.
Yeah.
I mean that they're already they're clearly conservation minded. I mean they're operating the farm.
Do the current owners have any time frames that they want to adhere to?
Not that I mean, at this point, they're really just trying to figure out how much the land is worth. And there's a lot of other stuff going on in the estate. There's conflicts amongst the heirs and stuff. So I don't think there is certainly no pressing need at this point. But it could heat up quickly, right? Because at some point they're going to figure out, well, this is what it's worth. Now I need to, basically sell it so I can distribute the proceeds. But
But if it went on for a year,
I don't think that would be a problem, frankly.
it could go on for a year.
Yeah, yeah, easily. I mean,
Okay.
that estate stuff can take time. And of course, the personal representative has a fiduciary responsibility to all the heirs. So he has really a responsibility to seek.
Is he a family member?
Yes, he's the son of Richard Herbst. In fact, he's also Richard Herbst, Dickie.
Yeah. It's a tough job.
Yes. So, so he, like I said, he has a fiduciary responsibility to get as much as he can for the benefit of the heirs.
Mm-hmm.
So if in fact they finally resolve the issue, whether or not when they do resolve the issue of access, it's either yes or no. There is access over the tracks, there isn't. If there is access over the tracks, we'll have to have our appraisal redone to reflect the fact that
Right. Then
some way to get over the
then
track.
some other party might be interested in it.
Yes, and at that point, it could conceivably be developed for at least residential use in Grafton. They'd have to get over whether or not they could get a permit to do residential development in Upton. Or if there is no access, then I think they're probably gonna have their own appraisal done, just as a matter of due diligence.
So if there's no access, then it's really only the railroad or the towns
Yep.
that are interested parties.
Exactly.
And if the railroad makes an offer, then that's the price.
Then that's the price.
And the towns might be able to match it. I expect they probably would be able to.
Oh, yeah. I would imagine that there'd be plenty of the Dairy Drive residents who would prefer not to have the railroad passing back and forth over Dairy Drive and the easement to get to the tracks. And they wouldn't want the tracks up there regardless. And so I'm assuming that there'd be a fair amount of interest amongst the abutting properties in seeing that it does not get used for railroad purposes.
All right, well, this is all very interesting.
Any other questions? This is more just informational, trying to get us up to speed. I talked to Bill
Yeah, and
this
at some
week,
point,
and-
when we get closer to saying we're about to buy it, then we need to figure out how we're gonna do that together.
The real question is, I wonder what the value to the Grafton and Upton Railroad, what is the value to them, I wonder? And we won't know.
Right,
or more importantly, how deep are their pockets?
yes, and again, so that's
I
the,
wonder how much they ended up paying ultimately for the piece in Hopedale.
it was $1.3 million or something like that.
So they paid that much to buy the trust
Yes,
that owned it.
How big was that property?
it was 100 acres.
100 acres. So like double, right?
Yeah, and conceivably they could decide, you know what, we've got 100 acres in Hopedale. We'll just put everything over there for the time being. However, I told you, the yard is typically got an awful lot of rail cars in it. And in fact, I just had a conversation with somebody from the railroad today who was looking for some information so that they could sign somebody else up to,
Yes.
transload materials at that yard.
This is a through track, right? Not a spur?
There's a yard in Upton with a through track from Grafton, North Grafton to Hopedale. I mean, the line extends all the way into Milford, but I don't think they've completed the development.
Grafton to Upton is the spur. We had clear cutting on a smaller scale. It wasn't 100 acres, thankfully, but clear cut.
North Grafton.
Yeah, right on Main Street.
Was, you mean the crossings that they use for changing out their cars and you get stuck behind it for 10 minutes?
Yeah, that intersection, but a little bit further up on the right, they clear cut it, and so now you can see the
Straight
tracks.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in addition to the pellet packaging plant, they have just within the last year finished a 30,000 square foot warehouse, which takes chemicals, brings chemicals in by rail car, and then divvies them up into smaller packages. So, I mean, they're running out of room, frankly.
Yeah, that's just what we don't want on the shores of Wildwood.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much for coming. If you get more information, please forward it to us. It's on our agenda. I think the selectmen are actually
Right.
keeping an eye on it.
I'm happy to
knows.
Whatever you need, don't hesitate to ask.
Right, and I think we can say that it's probably the sense of this committee that it's in favor of, doing its part.
I'm happy to hear that. Thank you.
All right, thank you again.
Thanks for coming.
Okay.
Good night.
So we're gonna back up.
You want to just mention the Grafton and
Okay,
what we know about it?
that's
We
what
don't- we
that's
don't
what
know
this is.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Oh,
that's,
I meant-
that's just a repeat. I put him
Oh,
up
I
here
meant Silver
so
Lake.
he
I meant-
wouldn't,
I meant Silver Lake.
okay, go ahead, Silver Lake.
So, I'd just like to mention Silver Lake. I had been saying many times that there would never, ever be an offer for that because whoever would, whoever could make an offer would know that the town would take it as for right of first refusal and waste all their money and time and effort. But apparently there has been an offer. The sign someone noticed, like Saturday, that the sign went from for sale to, sold.
Oh,
And it was like this, and apparently that Lee Robinson received an offer late last week. Nobody in the town that I know of knows how much the offer is, but there was an offer. I know that Tammy, our assessor, talked to Lee, and Lee had said that he was going to notify the town shortly, and that was like, I don't know, Monday or Tuesday, and then notification has not been made, and so I don't know if Tammy knows how much the offer is. I don't know if she asked, but no one else seems to know. I do know that it was offered for sale, like starting 2 to 3 years ago at $475,000. The other two lots that the town did purchase was offered at $300,000, and that offer was made, and the town did take that property under the right of first refusal, and now that's behind us. It's been done. And so I think that the upper amount is $475,000, but I find it curious that it might be, I find it hard to believe it would be that high for a bona fide offer. But I know that the lower limit's probably 300.
okay.
So we're in there somewhere. And Tammy and the, and Evan and Anne Marie and I know that Dave at the, on the planning board, and now you, Sandra, are aware of it and are
Yeah.
expecting it.
I think we've
And-
followed it and it's been mentioned at.
Right, and all of these bodies have been aware of this potential, and, and numerous members of the various bodies have spoken, in favor of doing this. The town has voted always to do this. It's the last lake shore property on Silver Lake.
And we have it identified in our plan to prioritize
Yes,
and purchase
all
right
the
away.
plans.
Yeah.
So, anyway, the town seems primed to do it, and,
And we
I
have
stand,
funds
yes.
to
we
do
have
it at this time, so.
Yeah, the CPA has plenty of funds for both of these and anything else that we choose to do. We have enough funds for all the things that we might contemplate.
As far as timing goes on something like this, would it just go to October or would it need to be expedited at all? I know-
It's a timing issue, and I don't know the answer to that. It'd be nice if it can wait till October. And the issue is, whether Lee Robinson is willing to do that.
He did the last time.
He
it
did
seems
last
like.
time. And so it's, it sounds like if he knows the money's coming, he can wait for it.
Our project submission deadline is July 1st. So I know it would line up. I mean, obviously it would come in after and it would be prioritized regardless, but it sounds like it's going to line up wonderfully if he
Yeah.
lets everybody know.
And so that's the remainder of Silver Lake, and it won't end up any weedier than it already is.
Okay,
So
thanks a lot.
I need to.
All right, thank you for coming. We appreciate
Fun
it.
at your meeting.
Okay, so back to,
And we're going to pass over treasurer's report, I assume?
yes, it's the same as the previous. Nothing has changed from May. And if I didn't say it already, apologize if I did. The town clerk is unable to attend tonight. She's going to attend the July meeting and discuss the projects that she's currently working on and bring a few examples of some of the work that's been done, the conservation, preservation of her archives. So the next item is the draft sunset bylaw.
So if you don't mind, I can
Yeah.
tee that up. All right, so I received the adjustments that both you and Paul wanted to make. I included that as well as a couple more adjustments I wanted to make, and I intentionally made it all black just to see if it read it well. For me, I always have a tough time doing this, and did everybody get a copy of the blue and red one, or was that just me?
I think that you sent it to
I
everybody.
sent it to
Okay,
everybody.
so everybody has this. I made it black again just to make it for ease of reading, but we can easily refer to any of the documents that have been provided. So on the top, I removed not started or stalled because I feel like it's covered in the not completed or not reasonably anticipated. We just didn't need to get additionally wordy with it. And then, kept Paul and John's suggestion as far as is not anticipated to move forward, provided no extension has been granted. So that's
And
the
I
language you
put
guys.
that in because he took it out, and I thought that was important.
Okay, yep,
It's
yep.
like this back and forth of.
So that
So
language
Paul,
is,
you may want to comment.
I just think it's redundant to have that. I don't think it's necessary, and it's already a wordy sentence. That was just, that's my whole thought.
Okay, but we're saying the intent is to return it to the CPC appropriate fund unless we filed an extension.
yeah, I agree. I think
I think
it's
that's
But it says that in the sense.
where.
where.
You're right, it doesn't.
And that's, I mean, I thought, again, it's like, I've looked at it and I looked at it and it's like, I think it really should be in there because we're saying we want to return this money,
That's fine.
but we need to say unless.
Yeah, and so I used the combination of
Yeah.
your two suggestions, and so that's the purpose is that. So if everybody's happy with the purpose, we can.
I think it's
move.
fine.
Okay. And then I removed the TH.
That's just me.
That's fine. And then, so number 2, unless otherwise voted by the committee, you had the committee may establish a sunset that exceeds the minimum 2-year period. For some reason, unless voted by the committee seemed important to me to note that there needs to be a vote taken.
I was trying to make it a sentence. It's not a sentence.
No, it does, but it doesn't indicate that there needs to be a vote taken. Yours didn't include vote.
Maybe I took it out, but I think, because I think I had, what did I say?
And this is what you said.
Because I
and then the
changed it
rest-
multiple times to get to that.
And then, so I included most of your language, but also included the fact that there needs to be a vote. So
Yeah.
most of this was your suggestion. So if number 2 reads well for everybody, still, does that?
Did you have copies of the blue and red, right?
Yep. And this black one I can send out too. Yep.
Do you want blue and red?
I got blue and red right here. I got everything. I got just red. I got blue and red. I got black.
Okay, so this is just being very picky.
Love it.
And it's just consistency and just because I get to do so many regulatory things. And again, this is a general thing where you have up top, you have Community Preservation Act, you put CPA. Then you have Community Preservation Committee. Typically, if you use committee down below and you're referring to it, you need to put that's
Uppercase.
uppercase.
Oh, uppercase committee.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then depending upon how picky you want to get, after Community Preservation Committee, you can put in parentheses, just say committee
On the top there.
on the top, yeah. And that's just saying, you're specifically saying a capitalized committee is the Community Preservation Committee.
Would that go in brackets,
Yeah.
committee? Okay.
Just like you do with the
Right up-
CPA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
up top.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I just,
No. This is our
Right
first.
over me.
This is our first policy. It's gotta look amazing.
I've done too many, I've been on too many committees on regulations and stuff. And I tried to read it today, but I was so involved in other stuff, I was having a headache. Because that's how, you know, and I'm sure there's other folks out going to I'm sure it's going to go through town council. Or is it not?
So that was going to be another point I brought up later, that I think we should probably send this to our appointing authority to make sure that they're okay with us creating a
Right.
policy. So send it to the select board to
Yeah.
do what they need to do
yep.
with it. So
So references to
I still like
CPC
what I
should be
wrote
committee.
because unless you're like, you put a period and you're starting unless, that's not a sentence, it's a phrase.
okay,
But you're also talking about well, I'm going to stop there because I'll just get too
Good.
boring about.
I would just take the period out, and then
and
it's
it-
not a sentence. It's just a statement.
Well, you don't take a period out, then that's really bad grammar.
If you have a list,
It's
the
a
problem
list.
is you don't have a list.
Well, there's one item.
Yes, which means why are you putting the A?
Because if I added it, I wrote the committee so I deleted unless otherwise voted by, started with the committee or town meeting, depending on warrant language. Close parentheses, delete to may, and then add vote to establish a sunset that exceeds the minimum 2-year period. Because I was trying to make it into a sentence rather than a phrase.
Yours has vote in it because I didn't have a vote.
I
with
said I
yours.
added that. Because I think I
Oh,
took it
just
out.
now.
I
Okay,
think
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
added it, then I took it out because I was trying to make it less.
All right,
Because
so
I figured it'd have to have a vote.
the
So
committee may establish sunset that may vote.
may vote to establish a sunset that
Okay.
exceeds the minimum 2-year period.
Okay.
A lot of capital C's needed.
Yeah.
Just going through and looking at all of them.
In like, even just as an example on FOIA, and again, this is more just format, not specifically on language. Sample sunset language include, then you go down and you say A. Why don't you have a colon there, and why don't you just start that right there?
Because I hit enter and A showed up. Literally
Okay.
no other reason than that.
Okay.
So I can
Yeah,
Get
no,
rid
no.
of A.
I'm just saying that is, if there was a list, I'd be like, then at the end, then it's a semicolon, and then if it's two or more, it yeah.
100%.
yeah.
Yeah,
That
it's-
came from one of the emails from Ginny too. So I just
Okay, yep,
Yep.
yeah. So it's just one of those things where the lists and stuff and how it's set up. That's all.
Paul changed the language and got rid of the A on number 3.
he combined it all, and for me with caveat, it didn't seem like strong enough language. I literally Googled exception versus caveat, and caveat's a warning, and exception or exclusion is the stronger language. And I wanted to make sure that everybody knew bond payments were excluded. That this isn't like
Then just-
subject.
Then just change caveat to exception.
I changed it to excluding projects requiring a bond payment. So the sunset language will be included on all projects, excluding projects requiring a bond payment. The bond payment alone will be exempt from the sunset provision.
Yeah, but that's, first you're saying it's excluded from them, and then you're saying except only the bond one. To me, that's the
so-
confusing part, and it would be good.
Projects that are using a bond and additional funds, the bond is excluded, not the additional funds.
I totally understand that, but I'm just saying it's confusing the way it's worded when it first says bonded projects are excluded, and then we have the caveat that listed down below. I think it just makes sense to have it in one sentence, making it clear.
Okay.
But I'm fine with changing out caveat with exception if that's a stronger word.
Yeah, I think that for me, I like the stronger language to make sure
That's fine.
future people don't try to.
I mean, if we're gonna have to try and get rid of the A's anyways, you already go
Yeah.
one down, 2 to go.
Okay.
So we're going to use the word excluding instead of except, or the word exception?
Whatever.
With the exception that
With the So we're using your substitute sentence that eliminates A and folding that all in, but changing the word exception with
changing caveat with the word exception.
exception.
Yes, I always tell people when you're doing a technical writing for a report or something, be boring.
Yeah.
Don't worry about reusing words.
Yeah.
It's not creative language.
No, I spent 20 minutes on exclude or something.
Yeah, it's not creative writing. It's needs to be as plain and direct as possible.
Requesting. I was like, I can't use requesting twice in the same.
No, you
I-
can use it
I
5
did.
times.
I think I did, but it was like I really struggled with it.
When you do kind of more,
Yeah,
creative or
Right.
or whatever, more
I'm used to, like,
descriptive type of thing.
writing like that.
Then
rather
you
than
then you
being
write
all-
like that. But
Yeah.
when you get into responding or doing policies or anything.
We see that in line 5, the next one. We use
Okay.
require at least twice.
That's okay. And then no one has to sit here and compare what the two words mean if they're different.
So that's your language, John, on 5. You guys comfortable with that?
Yeah. Is that,
I'm going back to the first one. You changed, I had and you changed it to or. I don't know if it makes any difference.
When you
Same
say
thing.
first one, where are you looking? Number 1?
Looking at the change up in the, under purpose at the end, I had said and is not reasonably anticipated to move forward, and you're saying or is not reason.
Well, because to me, it's not completed or not reasonably anticipated to move forward.
So, or can mean or and. And can only mean and, meaning like if you're reading a
Both.
regulation,
it has to be A and B.
it has to be A and B. So,
So you don't need to use and/or like I always do?
no, at least that's what was told to me by someone smarter than me.
All right.
That, so when you use and, it has, regulatory, if it says you have to do A and B, well, you have to do A and B.
Oh, okay.
If you do A or B, then you can
Pick one.
do A or
Or
B,
Okay.
which one you want, or both of them.
So or is more flexible.
Yes,
Keep or.
yes.
'Kay.
My understanding based on,
And still fits though. With what,
and that's where,
Sure.
yeah, and that's where having, either town council or someone else reviewing it, they'll pick up on those
Yeah.
particular words.
Okay, so everybody's comfortable through 4, correct? And we just did 5. You were comfortable with 5, John?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so on to 6. I threw that in there since the last time we discussed it in May because we took a town meeting vote and a couple of them had 2/3. This will fall out of favor pretty quickly in a couple of years.
And that was like what I'm thinking. I'm like, okay, in a year or 2 years or whatever, we need to come back and strip this out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it will be meaningless and just be less confusing.
The town meeting parts, none of that will
Right.
matter.
Once
'cause
all
we won't-
those
yeah.
cycle out,
Yep.
then we can clean this up and make it
Yeah, and,
tighter.
and policies are supposed to be,
And that's why, like,
Review.
the way I did it at the bottom, I was looking at, like, school committee stuff, and they'd say, however I said it, adopted with the date, and then you would say revised, so that would be part of the document. And all these names,
History.
I don't know why the names are important, but we'll get to that.
So I looked at the select board. Basically, I think we were just looking at different people. So I copied what the select board does versus the school committee, and I don't think there's a right or wrong.
No, but I'm just like thinking of policies, and that's like, because whenever you look at their policies, like they'll have adopted, reviewed, so you can see, and it's important to keep all that on there, so you know it's been reviewed every 3 years for the last 10.
Yeah.
So just that will grow.
Perfect.
So back to
So I guess we can jump to 7.
and I changed it to say at least.
Yep.
To be more clear, and then I also made sure that that matched because we're doing the I call it agreement, you call it
Award letters.
award letters,
90 days.
that they have to notify us if they need a sunset extension. So this is putting the responsibility on them,
Okay.
and that they are to notify us by March 1st. And that's more than 90 days. So that gives us time to get it on our agenda for the March meeting.
Do we want to put that on them though? Like,
Yeah,
like,
that's
Well, I think we put
what
it
I
on
thought,
about
too.
we still are gonna be, whoever the project sponsor is need to keep the pulse on that.
yeah. Because like select board appointments, for example, they send out letters. Do you want to be reappointed? I kind of picture it the same way. Do you want an extension?
Do you need an extension?
Right.
Not a
Whatever.
bad idea.
I mean, but also again, it's like whoever the project proponent is, for the most part, these will be done.
Yeah.
So there will be the exception rather than the rule that we're kind of like this one with the town clerk archives.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one, because the communication isn't as good as with like the Baptist church, because that's going to get done quickly, or
The cupola.
the cupola. That's it's just going to happen. It's going to be done, and we won't have to worry about all this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we need any language to allow us some wiggle room on that? Like, for instance, we just approved one less than 90 days.
So our original one had
Unless-
60, and the committee wanted 90. So the original proposed one I had was even shorter time, just because I do know.
But we have to get it on town, we need 45 days, but then we need to back, I mean, I think it gives us enough time, we need to have enough time to put it on our agenda, to have a
Right.
meeting, get a warrant article for it.
Right.
So it's like everything, we have to back stuff up to meet other deadlines.
So this
On-
can be tidied up once we don't have any that require us to go to town meeting?
Yes. Also, we have to remember it's a policy, not a law. Like, I think if we all take a quick
Right.
vote, are we okay being under the 90 days? Yes, and then do it. You know what I mean?
So do you wanna
because-
say unless or not?
I don't think, I think it'll just be case by case. In the event this happens and we're in the 90-day window, we can just take a vote
Yeah.
saying, we all recognize
Yep.
this, we're okay
It's
with
a
it.
policy.
Yeah.
So, and then at least, do you want to say a minimum of 90 days?
Instead of at least a minimum?
Yeah. I mean, and again, I think that, you know, someone else may have an opinion on that. It's just a little bit,
Yeah, I can add a minimum.
yeah. And again, yeah, it's a policy, so the reason you do a policy and not a regulation is because you want whoever the agency or committee or whatever has the authority to, you know, be able to, by vote, do something, you know, can change a particular policy for a particular situation.
Yeah.
Where regulation, you have, is a different process.
And also to just provide guidance too, like, oh, how do
Yep.
we do this? Because we haven't done one in.
Well, that's
in-
why we needed this big
Right.
time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're changing at least to a minimum.
And then again, it can be can be voted that it's okay.
And we don't need any kind of reference to this being a policy and that we can take a vote to do.
No,
I mean, at the top,
think
it says it's a
everybody-
policy right at the
policy.
top.
Yeah, everybody
As the
knows.
reference
Nice,
to it being a
nice
policy.
capital letters, so
Yeah.
nobody will miss it. Should we say, like the school, they're like QZW, and they, because I asked, what does that mean? Nobody could tell me, like they don't, the policies are lettered with bizarre letters. It's like,
Those got to be initials, right?
but for what? They
A
don't
person?
relate, they don't
Yeah.
relate to anything.
It shouldn't be. I
'Cause
mean,
I
like,
asked.
Yeah, like
I know, like,
Quincy.
yeah, like
They're
on state,
Jones.
the regulations, they always have a policy number, but it's usually the regulation there's a policy associated with. It's usually a date or something, and it's a number that year or something. So they keep it organized that way. I think since this is, do we have any other
I was
policies?
gonna say, do we
No,
put
this is
number
our
one?
policy. I mean, I can come up with more policies. You
No,
guys
no,
want
no, no,
policies?
no.
Because I love a good policy.
No, no,
Let's
no,
go.
We're gonna send you home.
Oh, what?
That's fine. That's,
No, I'm not gonna send you home because you'll start working on them.
Keep me here. Keep me busy. All right. So a minimum of 90 days, and then the committee, by a majority, if the extension is not approved by the committee,
Okay, look at this.
with the required votes, the committee will submit. So that's
okay.
your language all boiled down without the cross out in front of it.
So can I just ask, not so much the wording, but what does this mean? Meaning, are you saying that has to be done with a majority vote of the number of people, i.e., we've got 5 people here, therefore we only need 3?
No, you gotta be. I don't know. It was always my understanding that the majority is like those people, even though they're not here tonight, they still count, right?
It depends, again, it depends upon how to set it up. So it depends upon the total number. So if for Concom we have 5 members, right?
Right.
And there are times when we have 3 or 4. So that's a quorum. Doesn't mean if we have 3 people there, it's a majority of the 3 people there, of the voting members. It's not having to have all 3 vote for that.
Really?
So do we need definitions?
No, I think what we need to do is just confirm the standards that the regulations have. And most of those standards are,
To me, it's whoever's present. So if we had
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people
Right.
Well,
present.
to vote on anything, you have to have a quorum, right? So
correct.
But if we had 5 people here tonight and 3 people voted in favor, it passed.
Yeah.
If we had 9 people, 3 would not pass. It
Correct,
would
you
need to be
need a
5.
majority of the people
So
there.
it's a majority of those present. Do you want?
I honestly never see one of these not being a unanimous vote. I truly don't. I can't think of a.
Right, I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm just asking for, and then again, there's always someplace else you go to find that information out.
Yeah.
Because it always becomes a problem when we have 3 people and someone has to recuse themselves. Then we all look at each other going, what do we do now?
To me, it was really mostly like that it would never die at our level. That it would always go back to town meeting for town meeting to have
Yep.
the ultimate authority. That is the spirit of what this part was for. If I'm not capturing it well, then maybe we should reword it. But the point was that whatever project wouldn't lose its funding here.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that's, if the town meeting votes for something,
Correct.
then, yeah, I would agree with that.
Could you just add at the end of the sentence for number 8, with a majority vote of members present?
No, nope,
No?
no.
Then you're doing an and. It's got to be that way. Then you're tying your hands.
Right, so no, I'm just saying is, that was a general question based on whatever requirements that we go with this, under the CPC in the definition. I think it's open meeting law and some other different laws on the state level.
Right.
But again, it's not, I don't think it belongs in here. I just wanted to understand what
The intent.
the intent was and whether we were changing something than what my understanding is. Because I do think it's just if you have 3 voting members, you have to keep track of those voting members. You have to make sure that if the 3 of us are here and then it gets continued and you 2 haven't been part of it, and this is a public hearing setting, which is a little different.
Yeah.
And then, you either have to do the Mullen rule or you can't vote. So that to me is more open meeting and other kind of stuff.
Yeah. I don't think there'll ever be a time.
I know.
But you're not. It's great to discuss, but
I would agree with you. Yes. Yeah.
So I think we leave it as it is. We don't
Yeah.
need extra.
It's a policy
Because
too.
We're gonna
yeah.
tie our hands or make things
Right.
more complicated.
Yeah. That was more of just
Yeah.
me understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My only question with number 9, I don't feel strongly about it, but does it make sense that it fall under the number 3? Because it's kind of referring to the situation.
So that is more because of there was previous confusion about encumbered funds, and that just erases that confusion going forward because it is very recent confusion where it happened. So I took that language directly from
Yep.
emails. So that's
Yeah, I have no problem with the language. I'm just wondering if it made sense to move it up. And again, I don't feel strongly about
under 3.
under 3. And maybe it's just because I'm drawing the connection to the bonded project with
Oh,
the encumbered
yeah.
funds. Because they're both talking about,
But it's not saying bonded
Yeah.
on the number 9.
no,
Right. So like basically a project that didn't have a bond, but only part of its funds were encumbered through a contract.
Yeah. Well, the bonded funds, you don't say it, but the bonded funds are encumbered.
Oh, right, 100%,
no.
and excluded. So
I think standalone is fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
What was my question?
and then the bottom part, John, adopted and revised and all that versus approved by. I don't have a strong feeling either way. Whatever anybody wants to do, I see it both ways depending on which committee you're looking at. So
I'm more in favor of simple,
Adopted by.
adopted, June 30th, 2024, whatever date.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then reviewed, updated, whatever
That works.
later.
You would take the A's out of the 8 and 9?
Oh, yeah.
I think
Yeah, we got them there too, don't we?
the what?
The A's. We
You
had
have
more
a list
A's.
of 1.
List of 1. There's 5 of them all total.
I see what you're saying. Yep, I can do that too.
Well, I
Are you
helped you in reducing that to 4.
So I have a question because I'm looking at consistency and we talked about it, that we say will, and then on 9 we say shall. So I changed it to cannot. That's why I said cannot.
So,
What's your
So shall is, okay, shall is a direction,
You must.
right, you got it, and I would never you must. It's either shall.
That's what I mean, you must.
Yeah, so to me, the way we always look at it is that if I'm directing someone to do a very specific thing, I always use shall. If not, I can use any other language I want, because it doesn't mean shall.
Right.
So,
And I think the lawyer used shall. So.
Yeah.
Like all the other ones, because I didn't want to go back and, that was just one more layer of changing. It says, will require, will still require, will. Should it be shall up there? Because it's a directive. You have to do this.
Then just change it to will. The committee will not rely on encumbering funds.
I mean, that's what I'm asking.
so,
Because I said,
so this is also
is this an
policy.
old-fashioned language? Shall.
Yeah, this is also.
We're getting
policy.
picayune is what you're.
I know, yeah,
No,
so,
but
no,
it's
no,
like-
no, but it's,
I'd
it's,
prefer to do it right or have a discussion about
Yeah.
what people think.
Yep.
But I also want it to be consistent.
right, so this is a policy, and you, basically someone said, the attorney said use shall here, because it's probably more of a legalese, where up top, you will, meaning that's what the intention is, but it doesn't mean you absolutely have to. My only question on the shall is if that is different than the wills, does that mean, well, it's pretty straightforward. You shall not rely on encumbered funds. It's a statement, as opposed to some dates will expire on June 30th unless we vote not to, unless we have a discussion to give relief for that.
But like 5 and 6, we're saying we have to, we have to do a new warrant article. It's not kind of optional. We have to, it's a must.
It's a policy too.
So, yeah, we can do 5 and 6 as shall.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's,
No, I'm just,
yeah,
I'm
I know
looking for a distinction, if there's a distinction without a
Correct,
difference. Or
yeah.
is there,
you want to be intentional of which word you use.
right.
Yep.
It shall to me is stronger.
It is. There's
Yeah.
no question it's strong.
And so my questioning, not necessarily questioning why 9 is stronger than the rest, but
But I think you make a good point. The other ones aren't up for debate. They shall
we
be
have,
done.
we don't have a choice.
So
It's
I
like-
think
because
putting
you said somewhere, and I took that because I made it a different, automatically, like that's a shall.
yeah, we can make them as shalls.
Okay.
So you're just saying there's 5 and 6, all right, we have to do it.
Absolutely have to. Yep.
So that means it's a shall.
Okay.
Okay, I would agree with that.
All right.
And you took this wording right out, so
Oh.
there's no one's keen on, like, where it says fund, under A, encumbered funds only apply to funds in a specific contract. There's no, feeling that we should put in parentheses, as in a bond. Just to tie it in. I mean, to me, those two are again related.
So you're comparing,
Is it?
Three references a situation that is explained in 9A.
So let me ask just a question. Is a bond a contract?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the town has.
Contracted with the lender
Right, so.
for a certain
if
interest
it's
rate.
Funds in a
certain amount.
specific contract, and if bonds are a contract, then it's included.
Yeah, I'm just trying to tie them
Oh, okay.
back together again.
So for me, so sorry, John, but for me, bonds and encumbered funds are not interchangeable. You can have a project like the Common that had encumbered funds and no bond, but then you can have a project Townhouse that has a bond and no other funding. So the bonds are completely excluded. Don't even want them up for debate. It's a bond; it's going to get paid for the length of the bond. Whereas a project that had a contract that encumbered part of it, and it is moving forward, so it's doing all the things, we should still vote on it just to ensure that other money is not jeopardized, which is what we just did with the Common at town meeting. That's the spirit of what that's intended there. So I don't want to muddy it by putting it close to a bond payment where then people could get confused.
And one thing good about a policy is there's no question in my mind is then within the next 3 years, there'll be a sentence here that comes up and there'll be a situation that doesn't fit into it. And
Yeah.
we'll have to amend it. But
Right.
that's why you have a policy, but at least you have a starting place.
Just like 6, that came up since we've been discussing that, the 2/3 part.
Right.
That was
Yeah.
not part of our previous conversations, but had to be added because it is now part of our conversations.
To me, it doesn't muddy the waters. I mean, A clearly says encumbered funds in a specific contract, so that's talking about exactly what's in 3A. It's just you want to clarify that encumbered funds only apply to those things, which I totally agree with. That's fine. Again, I just think that people may lose sight of that and not draw the connection between the two.
I don't think they're connected.
They
I
are,
don't think
they
they
are
are.
connected.
They aren't, because if it's not bonded, it's not relevant.
No, I'm talking about a situation where it is bonded. It's talking about bonding here, and it's talking essentially, without saying it, it's talking about bonding here.
No, but it's not saying
It's
it.
not saying it.
No, because you can encumber funds without a bond. That's why it's separate
Right, but a bond is a specific contract.
and excluded, and that's why it's pulled out. I think if you combine it, then that creates the confusion that you see with it separate.
I'm in amongst the minority.
And we will find out
Yeah.
And they're.
at some point.
Oh, yeah.
No, and they're all shalls. They're not, because all this stuff is, we don't have a choice.
An attorney
Yeah.
will always use shall over will.
Okay.
Yeah, we're very picky on construction stuff
And
when I use it, and it's because of
Let's
risk.
see if the town council sees it.
that's what I was gonna say, once we get through this,
Three and
we
nine.
wouldn't even recognize it.
Yeah, no, it'd be great.
I think, I don't think that's true. I think it'll look pretty similar.
No, I'm
Yeah.
teasing.
Yeah.
On A, I did, knock me down if I'm wrong, encumbered funds do not void. It's not does not, it's do not. Because you're saying encumbered funds do not void, not does not.
Right, so I don't disagree with that. I was actually looking for a way to say it without a negative.
Must, shall,
No, just meaning like, again, it's just like, you have to be careful about adding not and stuff to things because it can get confusing, especially if it's prevalent and you end up with a double negative or something. And it doesn't have a double negative, and I couldn't think of something, a way to say it without it, so I just didn't say anything. So do not to me is fine,
Do not.
Do not.
and the attorney will probably change it to does not, and I'll be,
Yeah,
but
funds.
Sandy said,
Funds is plural, do is singular.
yes,
and under 6, I added a period.
but is funds truly
Love a period.
plural,
Okay.
or is it?
Let me make sure, oh, and then under 4,
Yeah, I'm not going there, I'm an engineer.
extends the
I'm not-
deadline
I am not an English
period.
major.
That got dropped
Okay.
off.
All right, so I can take all of the input we received tonight, squish it on the document I now have on my computer, and then push it out. And then how do you guys want to handle
We
it?
could vote at the next meeting,
Vote on it
and
and
hopefully
then,
we've hashed it out tonight.
okay.
And then it goes to town council?
Well, that was my question. Do you want to vote on it before we send
I
it to our
think-
appointing
I
authority, or
think
do
we
we
all
want to?
need to see it, the way as you clean it up.
Totally agree.
We don't have to vote on
But
it. We
my-
just say, go ahead to town council at that point.
Yeah, my thought is clean it up, look at it one more time with fresh eyes, say, yep, that's it, and then send it to the select board to see if it goes to town council or what, and then vote on it when we have the
With their
perfected
language.
blessing
Yeah.
and whatnot.
Oh,
Yeah.
with their comments, or if they have any, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Exactly, and then that's when we take the vote. So a couple more steps, and the fact that this isn't mission critical either. We have so much time to do this. It's fine.
Okay. Good, thank you, a lot of work.
Love it. I love policies. It's like my favorite.
My
love it.
sister's a nurse, but she
Well-
works for a large company, and they do a lot of different things. And she recently got switched, and all she does is policies now.
Medical policies. Does she love it?
It's company policies related to either insurance or medical.
Oh, that sounds terrible. Does she love it?
She does,
Well, she
actually.
does.
She went from running nurses, she would have a team of like 20 or so nurses that were doing telephonic nursing, right? Because whatever, it was different programs through Medicare and Medicaid. And then she went to the QA/QC side, and she loved it because she didn't have direct reports, and now she's on the policy and fits her.
Good.
She gets into it, she just, yeah, it's like,
But what you don't know
Something
is
for everyone.
under Colleen's seat, she has a 3-inch binder, and on the front it says CPC policy handbook.
You mean my binder that I
Now
carry?
your 3-inch binder on the,
Oh, yes. Love policies.
I mean, policies are good, but you have to make sure they don't
but then
run
you have,
wild.
you have to follow them. That's the other
Yeah.
thing, when you have so many of them, you don't even follow.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, if you have there's a lot of risk with that when if you have a QA/QC policy, and it's great, you got your little book and no one uses it, yeah, you open yourself up to a lot of
And
risk.
they say never ask a question you don't know the answer, but in terms of policies, have you studied or researched any other CPCs to see if they have policies? Because, again, I don't wanna go down this road, but I know you'd love to. Are there other policies that they have that would be beneficial for us to have, or are we good with just one right now?
I think we're good with one right now.
Yeah.
But if I find something that's
Because I'm like, we don't know till you cross that bridge.
right, and you probably won't find other CPCs with a sunset policy because most CPCs don't use sunsets. But it's ingrained in Grafton's, culture, so it made sense to have one.
Okay. And thank you, a lot of work for one page. And that was the other thing, to get rid of them, so we could have one page.
Yeah. Will do.
I failed to, at the beginning, this is kind of a rushed meeting, Craig, sorry. I skipped over greeting our newest member. Craig Polar was appointed by the selectmen 2 weeks ago, replacing Eric, who resigned a month or so ago, so welcome. And if you'd like to say anything, if not,
Happy to be here.
okay, good.
Do you wanna know who we are?
I know
Well,
who.
that's right.
I know who. Sure, we can go around, but I pretty much know. But yeah.
Sandy Brock, and I'm the representative from the Conservation Commission.
Paul Scarlett, and I'm an at-large.
John Stevens, I'm the Historical Commission representative.
Colleen Roy, member at large, all around committee junkie.
And
Policy changer.
Ken Holberger is our treasurer who had to leave. And you know Ken anyway, right?
Yep.
And he is at large. Kristen Belanger is, I think,
Recreation.
in Ohio with her family, so we're thinking about her right now. Is recreation representative. Justin Wood is the planning board representative, and Jack
Kelly.
Kelly is the Grafton Housing Authority representative.
Yeah, I'm trying to whittle down my committee commitments on the professional side, because it was just.
So you can pick up more on the Grafton side?
No.
Oh,
No. I'm fine with the two I'm on, thank you.
fair.
What's your other committee?
Huh?
Rachel.
Oh, this, sorry.
Yeah, this.
It's like, what else are you
Concom and
doing? What
this.
else are you doing?
No, on the professional level, I used to do some national
Yeah.
stuff, and it was really great, but it was,
Very time consuming.
yes. It was very cool, but it was, when I had to roll off as chair, I suddenly wasn't that unhappy, because of,
And all this time that you didn't know you had.
yeah, so.
Okay, so we are to project updates, and it's still fairly early. Candy's not here, so there's no update. Gravestones, I don't have an update. Grafton Common,
We're very close to being finished. The town is looking for some help. We helped them with some granite posts that weren't covered by insurance. And they're looking for some help with the railings too. So I'm just waiting for an invoice for that, and that should be our last invoice
because I still don't have an invoice, and I need to.
From Sunshine Sign. We need it from them as well. And I don't know
you?
what the follow-up was with, when they put on, we did two things with Sunshine Sign. We did the wrap over the electrical junction box, which probably everyone has seen. It's pretty visible. But we also there's a granite stone, and it's a piece of granite that came from the Fisherville Mill. But it's by the south entrance, and we've had a bronze plaque installed on it. We had thought it was going to be flat against the stone. It's not. It's actually it's raised because the stone's not completely flat. So we were looking into whether or not that could be adjusted. But I haven't heard back on that.
If they did that, they would have to go take it off and then carve down into it, and I would be afraid they may mess
Split
it up.
The rock was split, the granite
I'm
was.
sure they do that kind of stuff all the time, though. So it's just
I
not.
actually, because I had to look at it, and I know it's not your favorite thing, but I think it kind of looks kind of cool because it's just floating on top.
Except for one angle, then you can see where it's. You can see the mounting.
So
Doesn't look too bad if you're looking at it and reading it. It looks fine. It's just the back.
Insurance on that, there's a truck that wiped out the,
We had like 5 motor vehicle accidents up there, so there was a couple with trucks. But this one, for whatever reason, we weren't getting an insurance settlement on it. And they had been waiting well over a year. It's probably a year and a half.
I just think it's funny the number of buildings
Yeah.
that get hit by vehicles.
Yeah.
Like, who hits buildings? They're big. I guess I shouldn't think that way because we had a Commons that got hit by 5
Yeah.
times. And that's pretty obvious that you're not supposed to drive in it.
Well, those granite posts are very expensive, so,
Yes, yeah.
yeah.
John, can I just ask you a quick question about
Yep.
the historic gravestone? Last time you said you were meeting with them and doing a site walk. Did that happen?
I didn't know. It
Okay.
just looked with the end of school. I just said I can't do it till summer.
Oh, okay.
That's me. That's not me.
Okay, okay. Is that scheduled or not?
I know, because I was like, I can't even deal with it
Okay.
until I get
All right.
back into school.
So, I'm hoping that we
I mean,
get
it's
all of our invoices in so that we can have them, done in this fiscal year, and then we can close out the project. But we have those few things still waiting.
Okay. We are not gonna have an update on 95 North Street. Evan had emailed, and I talked to, Adam in Recreation last week and got a little bit of an update of where they were, and it seems like it was from $100,000 to $200,000 shy of what they needed the bids. And I said, rather than trying to redo the project and make it something that we didn't approve, come back to us and ask for additional funds, get a good price, and then request additional funds.
Yep.
And so I had that conversation. Leah was out and left a message, but then Evan contacted me yesterday saying, can we wait until next month? Because he's trying to work with them. I'm not real sure. He didn't elaborate on what it was that he was trying to do, but I said to Adam, I would much rather, and I think the town would much rather see what you planned done, because we have had projects that they had to come back for more funds. We understand why you have to come back for more funds. It's just the nature of the beast, and everything, the costs have escalated.
Yeah.
And rather than delay and tripling the price.
I
let's
think
just-
they're trying to do work in kind by the town, because I know that was going back and forth.
Right.
But I don't know any of the details, so I don't know.
But I mean, it could be a little bit, but I said, don't be, afraid. I think that the committee would see it favorably.
Right.
If you sought additional funds, it's not a bad thing. I mean, it
Yeah.
happens, so that we can get the project done.
Right.
Rather than sitting, and
Yeah.
that's, we don't wanna get to number 1, whatever number it is on our policy.
Yeah.
The Unitarian Church, that's all done, right?
That project's done. I did hear from them that they are going to be applying for funds to, actually, build the, it's a vertical lift. That's what their plans are for. So, that is definitely gonna be something that we're gonna have to get input from town council on. Get that, that 3-part test, the Helms test, I think it's called, to see whether or not we can. The lift itself is not for all 3 floors. It's for going from the main floor to the top floor. So that
The top floor is a sanctuary. You mean the
sanctuary or meeting room, whatever you want to call it. That their main meeting room. That's the only space that isn't accessible today.
So their vestry or fellowship hall or whatever you want to
That's
call it,
already-
which is on the right,
That's
actually,
already accessible.
because there's steps there to get to that. How is that accessible?
My understanding, and I haven't been in there in a while, that once they provided the ramp to get into the main level of the building, provided them access to everything on the main level. The only thing they couldn't get access to is to the main meeting room or sanctuary, because that was on a different level.
Right. But I thought that,
My recollection, I've been there,
yeah,
it's been a while, the big room
I thought you
in
had
the
to go
back,
down steps
I don't recall
once
that
you
at
get
all.
inside. You
And
go
that-
up and then go down.
I don't think that is the case.
Okay.
My understanding is it's just to get to that level. That's the last thing they need. They don't have a way to go from the basement inside up to the next floor, and they're not going to. You have to go around. That's just the way it is, and they already have an exemption for that. But they want to provide access to that main room.
Last month, you weren't sure if any money was coming back. Do you happen to know that now?
I don't know. I haven't heard. I didn't check. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem.
We'd have to talk to the town accountant about that. I thought that normally she
There's
followed
not
up with you.
much
Doesn't she normally follow
at
up
the end
with
of the
you?
year, at
Okay.
the end of the
Yeah.
fiscal year, cause I just wrote close out, so at that point, she'll tell me
Yeah.
Okay.
what it is.
Yeah.
Norcross Park, it seems like they are almost finished, that they were putting in, or did,
It's totally finished. And they had a ribbon cutting,
They-
and it was.
oh,
I
that's right.
attended it. It was
So-
great.
you did get to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Cause I know that kind of went out late, the invitation, that they sent, I think he sent an email like Thursday or Friday, it was last Friday.
It was last Friday. Yeah.
Yeah.
The first official day of summer for the kids, and it was a hot day. But they handed out water bottles and sunscreen. It was a very well attended event, and
Great.
I think it went really well.
Good, okay, so that's done, but the money's gone, there's no money coming back on that.
Okay.
Jack's not here, so don't have an update for the rental assistance, but we haven't gotten any new bills, so. But I think part of that is because they can't lease the apartments because there were several that were vacated and they have to do renovations, and that, he said, it seems like take months,
I think they said they were looking at catch-22 type of thing.
a couple of months for that to even happen before they can get somebody moved in. I thought he was gonna talk about baseline reports, but he actually was talking about buying, so I don't have an update from Ken on the baseline report for the Robinson property that we have purchased. Evan, I sent him an email asking for an update, and he said it's still, moving forward, but there was no new update to report. And as related, but has the new library director been started?
As far as I know, they
Yeah,
yeah.
there was an announcement of him I saw.
Yeah, the start date was a little bit, I forget.
After, but I think it might
It's
have
probably now,
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was when I saw it.
Cause I don't know where people get information, how do you,
Grafton.
I don't remember. I think it was
It was on the-
Facebook. I think it was Facebook,
It was
the town
Facebook,
site.
it was on the Grafton Facebook one.
And you're not on, so you wouldn't see that.
Town website has a lot of cool stuff. You go on that.
Yeah.
Just text me, John, anything you want to know. I got you.
Cisco Homestead, Justin's not here, so we don't have an update, but I don't believe they have started anything since they, I think they are gonna wait, until July, until the funds are available to start. The Congregational Church,
I've had some logistical conversations with them. They're looking to sign the contract with the contractor for it. So they had a couple questions, which I addressed. So they're getting things in order so that they can move forward.
and I wanna read a thank you letter that was written, to all members of the Community Preservation Committee, dated May 21st. Thank you all for your guidance and support of the preservation of the Congregational Church on the Common. Thank you for submitting our application for town meeting approval. Your committee truly prioritizes the value of Grafton's history and quality of life. Thank you for all you do for Grafton. Best wishes, Rob Lane, Andy DeShane, Elizabeth Torres, Donna Blanchard, and Eric Caldwell, plus all members of the church who, like you, embrace the heart and soul of our community. So, as I told Beth, I don't know that we've ever received a thank you note, so that was
Nice.
very nice, a handwritten note, which I really couldn't, I guess I could take a picture, but I couldn't put it in the packet. And we're working on, I've talked to Evan, we're working on the, I keep calling it, it's right in front of me. No, it's not. Oh, it doesn't say, so there. What is it? I keep calling it the agreement.
Oh.
What do you, what is it?
I just saved it under project award letters.
Okay. Award letter. Okay.
We can name it whatever. you
No,
want.
it's like I keep calling it agreement, but it's the agreement that the someone that receives funding from CPC, it has the name of the project description, all of this comes from the application or the warrant article. Project description, date of town meeting and warrant text, project location, project sponsor, project manager, CPC member and or the town contact, the background on the project, project administration, and then the rest is just boilerplate in terms of all the money, all non-CPC money must be spent first before CPA funds are released. Project reporting, how they're supposed to submit quarterly updates, photographs, any kind of publicity so that we can put it on our website. And they'll have a sign, ultimately, depending on the project. And again, when it's a park, it's real easy to do a sign. When it's a building, it's a little more difficult to do that.
Plot of land.
So we never really have come up with a good solution for that. But it talks about signage, recognizing the funding from the town.
Was that in the packet, John?
Because we worked on it this afternoon. She
So-
just-
It'll get sent out at
well,
some point.
the,
I'd love to read
no,
it in
you're
detail.
gonna sign it.
Well, I'd like to review it first.
Oh, is it even on the agenda to do?
It's part of the Congregational Church, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, the award letter for the Congregational
Yes,
Church.
because this is the one that we got started
But, so there will be one coming.
for all projects.
The Baptist
The
Church.
Baptist Church will get one.
Did we do one for the cupola? That was
The
that was in
cupola,
the fall, and we didn't.
It's for the town, I mean, again, it's like, when it's the town, it's a little bit different.
Okay.
And theoretically, we should have it, because with the schools, they had an agreement, they didn't follow it. They spent our money first. Nobody followed it, nobody tracked it.
Maybe if we had a letter, they'd be
They
reminded.
did have a letter and they did sign
Hold on,
it.
but you've assured me that because when you see it come in, you're
I never saw it.
They didn't come to us.
I never saw it. They bypassed
The
it.
department heads took it.
okay. All right.
So this was a year ago and it was not a pleasant thing.
All right.
Because that's not the first time that's happened. Other projects, they went around but we had a different town accountant. And so after that, they knew any CPC has to come through the treasurer or the chairman to sign off on this. And with the new one, they didn't know. And so it got pushed through because the school finance director signed off on it.
Okay.
So.
So this is gonna go out
It gets signed, but I have to,
by us and then mailed to.
well, I have to finish this because we also are gonna potentially have clawback language because of the concern of of legal issues. So that this is gonna go to the town accountant, that they will add that if they so choose, if not. Cause I asked them what language should we include, because we don't have that language. We've never had to do that before. So.
This isn't finalized.
So this is for me to send to Evan, to send to the town council, to then send back to us, and then the recipient signs CPC, you on the Congo, and then the chairman. So
Is this urgent to be signed tonight? Just because
no,
Okay.
this can't be signed.
Can't.
It's
Okay.
not been reviewed by the
I
town council.
misheard. I thought you had said we're signing it
Oh
tonight.
no,
Okay.
this is. I was just saying
You didn't miss it. He said that.
Okay. All right.
that I said we're going to vote on it.
He
Yeah, we're
said,
gonna
you're
sign
gonna
You're gonna
sign.
sign
He
it tonight. I was
told
like,
that.
I don't
You're
feel
gonna
super
sign it.
comfortable.
Not tonight, I'm not.
No, well, I didn't say tonight.
Oh,
I just
oh.
said you're going to sign it.
Okay.
It was
all right.
the inflection that.
We're getting punchy,
We
I
got
see.
that.
Okay.
I didn't say you shall sign it. You're gonna
We'll
sign
sign it.
You will, but not shall.
Okay.
Meaning because you're the sponsor of that project.
Yes, I get it.
You are allowed to sign.
Yay, thank you.
Okay. Baptist Church, there you go. And now we don't have any,
No, but I did make a nice PowerPoint that, we
We
can
can pass
include
on
in
the
the
pictures.
minutes for whenever this meeting comes, but I will pass on. So Painters Pride went around and started cutting out the moldings. It's gonna take about a month for them to come in. All the forms and permits, the W-9 and has been filed with the town accountant. The building department said no permits are required as long as it stays to the moldings. If it gets more extensive, they might need permitting. And then as far as the pricing, it is coming in less than anticipated, which is great. As far as when it will be installed, it's still TBD. I did have one question though, because it was for 4 columns. They got 6 moldings made so they can have 2 just to keep. Is that maintenance?
Is what maintenance?
So the project was to do the 4 columns. So they ordered and made moldings for 4 of the columns, but they actually had 6 produced so they can keep 2 for whenever it needs to be replaced again. And I wasn't sure if that was maintenance
I would
or
say maintenance is something that's gonna last for a year or 2. So it's not maintenance, but it's like,
It's preservation.
it's
not.
being,
Having extra ones
good.
made is preservation.
so
No,
that, so
that's
if
the-
this happens
that's the
again, it's ready to go. But again, it's like, that's something that we can discuss.
We don't necessarily have
Is
to
that something?
reimburse them for
if-
that.
If,
Well, that was going to be my question. Is that I didn't realize we were going to be getting so many made. It's still coming in under budget, but are we on the up and up if we're doing it that way?
it's for the contract that they used for the grant application, did it specify 4? Did it specify 6? I don't remember that it specified. I think it just said columns.
No, it's front column preservation, 4 columns facing the common.
Okay, so
Yeah.
technically that they said 4.
So that's on them if they want.
So if they have 2 extras, that, they can only bill us for 4.
Okay. Should I let them?
I would share that
I would
with
let
Dave.
them know,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
To say, that's good stewardship on your part,
Okay.
but that wasn't, if you wanted 6, you should have put 6 in the application so that we could
then
discuss
just
it
done all
beforehand
6.
and then have that discussion is, cause none of this is ever gonna be maintenance because this is long term. It's gonna last hopefully another 100 years. But if they have a problem, like the cupola lasted 20. I mean,
Right.
this may not, because materials aren't as good as the wood that you get today is not nearly as good as the wood that you got 100 years ago or 150 years ago.
It's mahogany though, so it's pretty durable wood. It should
So,
last.
But I think because they limited themselves on that.
Okay.
So we don't even get to the point of, is that maintenance?
Okay. So the application was limited to the
The
4.
4.
Okay.
Right. If we all
Thank you for
agree.
sharing that.
Thank you. Discharge. I don't know that you go, I think anyway, to the meetings, the Affordable Housing Trust.
Oh, I'm on the Affordable Housing
That's what I
Trust
mean.
now. Yeah. So I went to their most recent meeting and I got an update already for us, even though I don't technically start till July. But so 17 and 27 Upton Streets going back to the planning board. They had a traffic study and a stormwater and wetland engineering has all been completed. 25 Worcester Street, the RFP has been awarded and a representative will be appearing at our July meeting.
We just like 25 Worcester Street, say,
RFP has been awarded, and a representative from the entity that it was awarded to will be coming into the July meeting to talk to us. So we'll have more information about that. There is a timeline in the packet from that meeting where 25 Worcester Street is several years. The timeline on it's just because of the funding mechanism going on. It's going to be several years out. And then there was a real estate transfer fee discussion. Right now, it got taken out in the House, but it's in front of the Senate about creating a local option fee that on real estate sales over $1 million, a fee would get applied that would get funded right to the Affordable Housing Trust, which be a great option. So the trust is going to draft a letter of support to send off to Senator Moore at our July meeting as well.
okay,
And that's the Affordable Housing Trust
Good.
update.
all right. The project signs, that's kinda, I'll get to it, but I do like that little sign that I showed at the last meeting. We discussed the, Lake Wildwood land purchase and the Silver Lake parcels. Yes.
The email you got just before we walked in.
Oh, that, I had an email today from, Bill Yeomans regarding 95 Worcester Street, and I should have said that at 95 Worcester Street. or North Street, sorry, North Street, that he saw that it was on the agenda. I said that it's gonna be, addressed at the July meeting. But his concern, because I think he said he opposed this when it first came up at town meeting, was the lack of parking. He felt that there should be more parking and there should be more handicap parking. And so I said, I would bring that up. I would definitely bring it up at the next meeting when the representative are here. But, that he's very welcome to come and share, because I'm sure they would be willing to hear his concerns. So
From what I recall, the site is just very
it's
limited.
tight. That's
So
the
that's,
problem.
You also, on a site like that, you're gonna have, majority of time is the number of spaces will be fine. Beautiful Saturday day or something, beautiful fall day, it's not gonna be enough.
Yep.
I
Oh,
mean,
they hide that gnome? Get out of town. Everybody's gonna go looking for it.
But yeah, it's one of those things where, how much do you build? And that's kinda, having flexibility is nice, but you don't have that option at that site.
95% of the time, it's fine.
Correct.
Pun intended.
But,
Okay. Anything else?
what is that humming noise?
I think it must be that.
It's a light up here
Yeah,
or something.
it's in this corner, wherever it is.
There's a bee up there. So, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
And a second. It's 8:30. I declare the motion carried. We are adjourned, 8:30 PM.